Hello there, and welcome. We are back. This is Let's Go DFS, my new YouTube channel, and we're just going to talk about fantasy football, primarily DFS on DraftKings.com. We are going to cover this each and every week, and we are going to figure out how to get to the top. Welcome to the dungeon. This is where we're going to get it done. I am Christian, aka Denver Score Mega, aka Pinchy Flacco. I will be your host here on the reg. So, welcome to the channel. Please like, subscribe, tune in, troll me, do it all. But let's get some traction and let's get some really good information out there for all the DFS players all there. As we know, the season started last night. Rams got their asses kicked by the Buffaloes. Everybody knows Buffalo is the odds-on favorite to make it to the Super Bowl this year. They looked great. Of course they look great. You know, they're a good team. Obviously, if you had yourself Cooper Kupp and Josh Allen, you were doing just fine. But, not, obviously we still got 36 hours until final rosters and whatnot. We are waiting on key pieces of information for this week, as we always are, and we're not going to know entirely what we're going to do this week until we get that information. We all know how it works. So what we're just going to do real quick for my first video, welcoming us back to talking about football, is we're just going to go over each game real quick and see what it looks like. Starting out, we got first game, Saints at Falcons. Saints are a 5.5 point favorite in this game here. 43 over under seems a little low, so keep that in mind. This being played in the dome is going to help out a lot. We got weather problems up and down the East Coast and in the Central Valley there, with in the Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, all that kind of area. So apparently the only place that's going to have nice weather tomorrow is New Jersey and Denver. Everybody else is kind of hating life these days, apparently, with weather. Weather's crazy. So dome game, that's really going to help your AM action, especially if you're an early only player. I play a lot of early only, so I'm going to be focusing on this game a lot, waiting on health status of Michael Thomas and the Atlanta rookie wide receiver. So Alvin Kamara, probably a smash in that game, probably be popular. But moving on, we got Colts at Texans. Colts 7 point favorites on the road, 45.5 over under, and the Colts usually beat the shit out of Houston. See how it goes. Houston's not that good this year, but they played well week 1 last year, so maybe they have it together for 1 week. Definitely once again in a dome or controlled environment, I should say, and we will be looking for players off of that game. Michael Pittman being a very strong play at 5,500. He will be their main wide receiver until somebody else shows up as well. So the Colts are actually quite limited on offensive players. Obviously they have Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor is a stud, but Michael Pittman is also a pretty good football player. But he's for 5,500. I don't know. You're going to get a bunch of targets from that for sure. Other than that, a couple other players are going to pop here and there for Houston. Actually, I'm beginning to like the idea of using their rookie, whatever his name's, Pierce or something like that. But the rookie running back out of Texas, I'm interested in that. And old Brandon Cooks, he might be all right this week. He's a little bit of a schizophrenic player, but you can throw against the Colts. You've always have been for years now. I don't think they did anything to really change that, so Davis Mills could be a little bit loud as well. Moving on down to one of the yuckier games of the day, we've got Browns at Panthers. Panthers are only a 1.5 point favorite, over under 42. Weather has now become concerning going into that game, so we'll know more in a day or two. So other than that, Baker Mayfield getting a chance to crack at the Browns. Jacoby Brissett under center for the Browns themselves. Browns are, it's a pretty ugly game. I don't know. I like the Panthers to go out there and play with a chip on their shoulder, beat the Browns. 1.5 doesn't sound too bad. Probably, if that's the lowest over under. I'm not sure if that's the lowest over under of the day, but under 42 sounds good. Moving on. Jacksonville Jaguars at the football team. Football team favored by 2.5 points, 43.5 over under. Once again, rain could be a concern. We'll have to check in as we get closer to kickoff. For the football team, Antonio Gibson is probably still going to be a big part of what I try to do this Sunday. At 5,800, he is priced to play a home favorite against a shitty Jags team. Jags should be more organized at least this year, and they added some talent at the wide receiver position. I'd like to use some of those, but if it's not going to be too clean a game, I'm going to have to give it some pause. But moving on from that, so until we know the weather, don't know too much more about that. Moving on, a place where there will be good weather is in New Jersey. Ravens are at the Jets. Ravens are 6.5 point favorites, 44.5 over under, and there's a lot to be liked here. It's primarily, I gotta love the idea of Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews. I think that's going to be a huge stack for me this week. I think that's going to be a big part of what I'm going to try to do across the board, both in the early and main slate. And can't see why you can go wrong with that. KJ Dobbins is still the big issue right there, and we don't know exactly what the Ravens running back situation is going to look like. So could be messy if this turns into a Kendrick Jake two touchdown game out of nowhere. Don't be surprised. But Jets could be scrappy. Obviously, Flacco starting for the Jets. That's horrible. I think it's ironic that he's, maybe even purposely ironic, that he's probably making a start in 2022 for some reason, and it just happens to be against the team he won a Super Bowl with. My prediction is Joe Flacco is benched at halftime, and we get the GOAT, Mike White, which kind of really opens up the Jets as probably in a pretty decent scramble position. Some of their players might be actually pretty live, but Flacco under center makes it all pretty scary. So we're just going to move on from that. Moving down to the Patriots at Miami. Somehow Miami's 3.5 point favorite now. That line's moved a little bit. 45.5 point over under is going to be crazy hot there, and it probably could rain. So it's Miami, but it's going to be crazy hot down there, and a lot of things going on in that game. New England's going to be good. Miami should be better, but for some reason I'm liking Miami as my kind of married to them to defense this week's 2,600. They get me 5 fantasy points or more, I'll be good with that. So 2,600 Miami Dolphins defense. Everything else I'm just kind of not too interested in. I like New England's pieces, but just not this week. Moving on, Eagles at Lions. Eagles only a 4.5 point favorite. 48.5 point over under. Sounds like a pretty good football game. Eagles beat the shit out of the Lions last year in Detroit. A little bit different football team at the time for the Lions, but they got their asses kicked. They really hardly even had to throw the ball. They just ran it most of the time. So all the Phillies' weapons should be totally live. You all know who they are. I've got Miles Sanders will be playing, so just made their backfield a little bit even more convoluted. The receivers are good. If you need some wide receiver or some salary relief at the wide receiver position, Quaz Watkins is live. Wide receiver 3, he'll get some targets if the game's close, and 3,400. What do you expect? There's not much down there for week 1 under $4,000. Quaz Watkins though is live. Beyond that, Philly is going to be the cream of the crop in the NFC East. They drafted well. They got themselves a beast run stopper, and they've added to their cornerbacks that are already pretty good. So they will be stingy on the outside this year. They were a little softer in the middle. They might be soft there again this year. So T.J. Hawkinson definitely could be a solid play if you can't get the Mark Andrews. Other than that, I'm not going to be too interested in Detroit's at this time. So definitely not interested in the receivers. So moving on, Steelers at Bengals. Bengals 6.5 point favorite, 44.5 underdog over under. Bengals, Steelers, that is looking to be possibly, once again, rain issues. Changes the game, that's for sure. I was liking Joe Mixon a lot for this particular game. I think he can smash up pretty good at home against the Steelers. I think the Steelers are just, they're kind of like Seattle. It's time to start over. So they've got gaps, they've got holes. Those holes showed up a bunch against the run last year. I don't know if they really did much to improve that. So Joe Mixon's in the mix, especially if it's raining. He's probably going to be the best player on the field for fantasy football purposes. The receivers are going to, maybe they might struggle a little bit. So other than that, I will not be playing any Steelers this week, to my knowledge, as of yet. I'm not really interested in anything there. Mitch Trubisky, you can show it to me, that'd be fine. Moving on to this is the lowest over-under of the week. That is the Niners at Bears. Niners 6.5 point favored, 40.5 over-under. Little fact, the lowest over-under of the week usually comes under quite a bit. So if you're in that kind of headspace, that's an easy way to kind of go about it week to week, and you can just be like, 40.5, that's the lowest one. We'll just take the under of that. Once again, we got two very who-knows teams. Niners are probably good, but who the fuck knows? And the Bears, well, they're not. Everybody knows. And it's going to be raining, and it's going to be messy, and the wind's not going to be up. It's just going to be wet and nasty, and it's not going to be a very nice day for football. But this is your garbage game. There's not too much I'm looking for. You can get spicy and maybe use the Bears defense at 2,200 in a shitty game. That could work. Like I said, what do you expect for 2,200? But if it helps make the rest of your roster work, that could be a good idea. Niners played the Bears last year in Soldier Field, ran all over them. So, you can be confident that they're probably going to try to do something similar. So, if they're going to run the ball, then you can feel pretty good about that, I guess. But pretty much going to be fading a good part of this game. So, but that's the early part of Sunday morning. That's what it's going to be looking at. We're going to be tracking rain. We're going to a few key injuries still out there. KJ Dobbins, Michael Thomas, those being two of the bigger ones out there. Obviously, if DeAndre Johnson from the Steelers doesn't play, that could open up an affordable wide receiver that could be taken a look at. But like I said, it's going to be sloppy there as well. I guess we're just going to be focusing on that Ravens-Jets game and anything in a dome. So going from there. Hopefully Miami's defense pulls out a weird one, which they have been known to do. And good luck to you this Sunday morning. It's going to be a live one. All right. Going to come back with a second half video, kind of plug up the rest of them and let the rest of the games, and we'll talk about them and go from there. All right. Thanks.